courageous and hungry girl enters a restaurant. Surprising reaction from the restaurant owner. What happened next will leave you speechless. On the icy streets of a large city, a young girl named Lily struggles to survive. Desperate and hungry, she dares to enter a luxurious restaurant, but what she finds there is a shocking clash of realities. Amidst judgmental looks and a mysterious restaurant owner, Lily's life is about to change forever. On the cold and bustling streets of a large American city, a 14-year-old black girl named Lily wandered in search of a place to shelter. She had learned to live on the margins of society, spending her days in a constant struggle for survival. Lily had lost count of the nights she slept outside, wrapped in a torn blanket she found in the trash. Meals were a rare luxury, dependent on luck and the generosity of strangers with kind hearts. It was a particularly cold day, and Lily felt the chill cutting through her bones. Her stomach ached with hunger, a constant reminder of her vulnerability. Passing by the windows of restaurants and shops, she observed the world around her, a world full of abundance but inaccessible to someone like her. Her eyes stopped at a luxurious restaurant front glowing with golden lights. The delicious aromas emanating from inside made her stomach growl even louder. Determined to change her luck, even if just for a moment, Lily took a deep breath and pushed the heavy glass door. The warmth emanating from the restaurant's interior was an immediate relief to her frozen body. However, the comfort was short-lived. The stares of the customers and staff pierced her like sharp knives. Her dirty clothes and face, marked by the harshness of the streets, contrasted sharply with the elegant and polished restaurant environment. Lily took a few hesitant steps inside, her eyes fixed on the floor. She had no plan, just a vague hope that someone there would have enough compassion to offer her a plate of food. The conversations that once filled the air abruptly stopped. The silence became deafening. Some customers whispered among themselves, and soon the murmurs turned into audible comments about how a beggar dared to enter such a place. Feeling the weight of the stares and judgment on every face, Lily began to feel dizzy. Her body, already weakened by hunger, could not withstand the tension and pressure of the moment. Before she could take another step, Lily's vision darkened, and she fainted, collapsing onto the restaurant's marble floor with a thud. Panic ensued among those present, and soon the staff approached to see what was happening. The restaurant was abuzz with murmurs and confused glances. The elegantly dressed customers looked from their tables to the girl lying on the floor, some with sympathy, but most with discomfort and disdain. It was a scene that brutally contrasted with the luxurious and serene environment of the establishment. The waiters, equally shocked, didn't know how to proceed. Lily's presence seemed like a mistake, a break in the bubble of perfection in which everyone was immersed. While some staff members tried to decide what to do, a younger waitress with compassionate eyes knelt beside Lily. She checked to see if the girl was still breathing and, realizing she was conscious but very weak, asked for help to move her to a chair. The restaurant manager, a middle-aged man with a stern expression, quickly approached. "What is she doing here?" he asked in an irritated tone, clearly uncomfortable with the situation. The young waitress looked at the manager, hesitating. "She needs help. She's obviously starving and seems to have fainted from weakness," she replied, her voice soft but firm. The manager looked at Lily, then at the customers around, who were now watching with growing interest. He knew the situation was becoming an unwanted distraction. "This is not a shelter. Someone get her out of here before she causes more trouble," he ordered, his voice cold. Before the young waitress could protest, a tall, robust man entered through the restaurant's main door. His presence was imposing, and everyone in the restaurant immediately noticed his entrance. It was Richard, the restaurant owner, known for his reserved but respected nature in the culinary industry. He looked around, quickly assessing the situation. His eyes landed on the unconscious girl, and then on the uncomfortable faces of the customers and staff. "What's the problem here?" Richard asked, his deep voice cutting through the silence. The young waitress tried to explain, but before she could finish, the manager intervened. "She just walked in and fainted. We're trying to handle it," he said, trying to maintain composure. Richard, however, did not seem satisfied. He walked over to where Lily was seated, still semi-conscious, and observed her for a moment. Then, with a decisive gesture, he turned to the staff. "Take her to my office. Now." The tone of his voice left no room for discussion. The staff, surprised by the order, quickly helped carry Lily to Richard's office. The customers watched in silence, some murmuring among themselves, others just watching with curiosity. The environment returned to its normal state, but the young waitress couldn't help but feel a wave of relief. Maybe, just maybe, something good could come out of this unusual situation. In Richard's office, the atmosphere was warm and welcoming, contrasting with the cold and impersonal environment of the restaurant's dining area. Lily was carefully placed on a soft couch. A blanket was gently draped over her shoulders as the young waitress, who introduced herself as Emily, knelt beside the girl, holding her cold hand and trying to comfort her. Richard watched everything with a serious expression, but there was a hint of concern in his eyes. After a few minutes, Lily began to wake up. Her eyes blinked, adjusting to the soft light in the office. She looked around, confused, trying to understand where she was. Richard's stern face softened a bit as he saw the girl regaining consciousness. "You're safe here," he said, his voice low and calm. "We're going to take care of you." Lily, still dazed, tried to sit up, but her weakness prevented her. Richard nodded to Emily, who quickly brought a glass of water. "Drink slowly," she instructed, and Lily obeyed, feeling the cold water soothe her dry throat. With each sip, she seemed to regain a bit of strength. Richard pulled up a chair and sat in front of Lily, looking directly at her. "What happened? How did you end up here?" he asked, his voice now softer, almost paternal. Lily, feeling a mix of shame and relief, began to tell her story. She spoke about how she had lived on the streets since she lost her parents, how she had survived with the help of strangers, and how, that morning, she decided to enter the restaurant out of desperation, just to ask for something to eat. As Lily spoke, Richard listened attentively, not interrupting. He was a man of few words, but his presence was comforting. There was something in his eyes that conveyed safety, a silent promise that she was no longer alone. When Lily finished, there were tears in her eyes, but also a glimmer of hope. She hoped that, somehow, her sincerity would touch the heart of this man. Richard remained silent for a moment, pondering what he had just heard. He then stood up and walked to a shelf, picking up a small first aid kit. "Let's take care of your wounds," he said, indicating some visible cuts and scratches on Lily's arms. Emily approached to help, and together, they cleaned and treated the girl's injuries. Meanwhile, Richard began to speak. He told Lily about how he had faced hardships in the past, how he had grown up in a poor neighborhood and fought to build a better life. His words were full of empathy and understanding, and for the first time in a long while, Lily felt a genuine connection with another person. She realized that Richard was not just a restaurant owner, he was someone who understood the struggle for survival. When they finished tending to Lily's wounds, Richard leaned back in his chair, observing her with a thoughtful expression. "I know this may seem strange, but I want to offer you an opportunity," he began, choosing his words carefully. "I can't change the past, but I can help you have a better future. If you're willing, I'd like you to come live with me. We can take it one step at a time, see how you feel about it." Lily remained silent, processing what she had just heard. Richard's proposal was unexpected and somewhat frightening, but at the same time, it was a chance to change her life. She looked at Emily, who smiled encouragingly, and felt a wave of gratitude. With her heart pounding, she finally whispered, I accept." The days that followed were a whirlwind of emotions for Lily. The transition from the streets to Richard's home was disorienting but also incredibly rewarding. Richard took her to a clinic where a doctor checked her health. She was diagnosed with malnutrition and anemia, consequences of years of inadequate food and harsh living conditions. The doctor prescribed a special diet and vitamins to aid in her recovery. Back at Richard's house, Lily was introduced to his daughter, Sarah, a 12-year-old girl with a contagious smile and a welcoming personality. Sarah received Lily with open arms, and soon the two became inseparable. The house, large and comfortably decorated, was a haven of peace for Lily. Every room was a new discovery, every corner a revelation. She had never experienced anything like it. The security and comfort were a welcome novelty in her life. Richard, who until then seemed like a stern and reserved man, proved to be a caring and attentive father. He made sure that Lily had everything she needed, from new clothes to school supplies. Despite having little experience dealing with teenagers, he tried his best to make Lily feel loved and included. Mealtimes in the house were always a special event, with Richard and Sarah making sure to include Lily in conversations and family activities. Lily started attending the local school, something she hadn't done in years. At first, she was nervous and insecure, fearing that her classmates would judge her for her past. But over time, she made friends and excelled in her studies. School became a place where she could explore her talents and discover new interests. Lily was particularly good at art and music, and Richard encouraged her to develop these skills by buying her art supplies and a small keyboard. Meanwhile, Lily's relationship with Richard and Sarah continued to grow stronger. Sarah, being just a bit younger than Lily, saw her as an older sister, and the two spent hours together, whether studying, playing, or just talking. Richard, in turn, became the father figure Lily had never had. He guided her with wise advice and made sure she knew she could count on him for anything. One night, after dinner, Richard called Lily for a talk. They sat in the living room, and he began to speak in a serious but gentle manner. "Lily, I know life has been hard for you. I know we're still getting to know each other, but I want you to know that I'm here for you. If you want, I'd like to officially be part of your life. I'd like to adopt you if you agree." Lily was shocked for a moment. Richard's proposal was more than she could have ever dreamed of. She had always wanted a family, a place to call home, but never imagined she could find all that in such an unexpected way. With tears in her eyes, she looked at Richard and Sarah, feeling a wave of love and gratitude. "Yes," she replied, her voice choked. "I'd love that." The adoption proceedings began shortly after the conversation between Lily and Richard. Although the process was complex and required a lot of documentation and patience, Richard was determined to do everything right. He hired a lawyer specializing in adoptions and began gathering all the necessary documents. Lily, for her part, was excited, though a bit apprehensive about what the future held. As the adoption process unfolded, Lily began to feel more and more like part of the family. Richard and Sarah involved her in all family activities, from movie nights to weekend trips. They even took her shopping, helping her pick out new clothes and personal care items. To Lily, these small things were immensely significant. They were symbols of a normal life she had never known. One day, Richard and Sarah decided to take Lily on a special trip to the local theme park. It was Lily's first time in such a place, and she was dazzled by the bright lights, the attractions, and the general joy of the environment. The day was filled with laughter, roller coasters, and cotton candy. Seeing Sarah and Lily enjoy themselves together was an emotional moment for Richard, who felt a deep satisfaction in seeing his two girls happy. At home, things continued to improve. Richard helped Lily with her homework and encouraged her to pursue her interests. He enrolled her in piano and art classes, and she quickly excelled. Sarah, on the other hand, became Lily's #1 fan, always praising her drawings and musical performances. The two sisters, though different in many ways, complemented each other perfectly, creating a bond that only grew stronger over time. During one of the many meetings with the lawyer, Richard was informed that the adoption process was progressing well and that Lily would soon be officially part of the family. He decided to have a small celebration at home, just the three of them. He prepared each person's favorite dish, and after dinner, he presented Lily with a small gift, a necklace with a heart-shaped pendant. Inside the pendant was a small photo of the three of them together. "This is a symbol of our family," Richard said, his voice full of emotion. "I want you to know that you'll always have a place here, in our hearts and in our home." Lily, deeply moved, put on the necklace and smiled, feeling loved and valued. She knew there was still much to learn and grow, but with Richard and Sarah by her side, she felt she could face any challenge. She had found the security and love she had always longed for, and the future now seemed full of possibilities. With the adoption finalized, Lily finally had a family to call her own. Richard's house became a true home for her, a place of warmth and unconditional love. The weeks following the formalization of the adoption were filled with new experiences and discoveries. Lily continued to excel in school, winning awards for her art and musical talents. She began to think about the future, considering possibilities that once seemed out of reach. Life at home also blossomed. Richard, now officially Lily's father, made sure to be present for all the important moments. He attended school performances, helped with art projects, and provided constant support. Sarah, in turn, loved having an older sister to share secrets and adventures with. The two began to see each other not just as sisters at heart, but as best friends. One of the most memorable moments for Lily was when Richard took her on a trip to New York. It was a trip he made every year with Sarah to visit museums and theaters, and he wanted to share this tradition with Lily. The big city, with its bright lights and vibrant energy, captivated Lily. They visited the Metropolitan Museum of Art, where she was mesmerized by the works of art. Seeing paintings and sculptures up close, some of which she had only seen in books, was a transformative experience. Richard also took her to see a Broadway musical. Sitting in the audience with wide eyes, Lily felt a wave of inspiration and emotion. The show was a celebration of creativity and human talent, and she felt deeply connected to those feelings. It was there, among the songs and dances, that Lily realized how far she had come since the day she walked into Richard's restaurant, starving. Back home, Lily began exploring new forms of art and music. She enrolled in dance classes and started experimenting with different painting styles. Richard and Sarah supported her every step of the way, always encouraging her passions and celebrating her achievements. The unconditional support of her new family gave Lily the confidence to dream big and pursue her goals with determination. Lily's story, from a homeless girl to a promising young woman with a bright future, became a source of inspiration for many. Richard, proud of his daughter, never ceased to remind her how special she was. He always emphasized that, regardless of the past, Lily's future was full of possibilities, as long as she continued to believe in herself and work hard. And so, surrounded by love and support, Lily found not just a home, but a life filled with opportunities and hope. She knew that the road ahead might still have challenges, but with her family by her side, she was ready to face them. The courageous step of walking into that restaurant in search of a meal had indeed changed her life forever. And what happened next, instead of leaving her speechless, gave her the voice and confidence to tell her own story of overcoming and hope.